Hello everyone. It has been a couple weeks since I have posted a video because there hasn't really been anything to update on, and I didn't really want to keep posting videos saying there's just no update. But my husband had an idea that in the meantime I could post a couple of videos about my medical background because it's a little bit complicated. So it seems to have started with the birth of my oldest child, which was 20 some odd years ago. It was a complicated delivery. Thankfully, I had the presence of mind to take notes shortly afterwards so that I would remember the series of events. So I will read those notes to you. So on November 26th, which I believe was the original due date, I had a checkup, and the baby's head still had not fully dropped, so they didn't expect a delivery that weekend, but the doctor wouldn't let me go more than 7 to 10 days overdue. Then on December 3rd at 9:15 a.m., I had another prenatal checkup with the expectation of setting an inducement date. It looked like the baby's head was still not fully dropped, and the doctor was concerned about placenta previa from previous ultrasounds. So another set of ultrasounds was requested for the same day, and the expectation was a C-section to be scheduled for that weekend. So I was called at noon. Oh, sorry, no, I wasn't called. At noon, I had the overall third set of ultrasounds, which took about an hour, with a definite maybe as a result. With the placenta previa was a definite maybe. At 3 p.m., I got a call from my family doctor saying that it looks like there still could be a problem. So he scheduled the C-section for 5 p.m. that day, which was a bit of a shock that it was that quick. So the plan was to be at the hospital for 5 and in the OR by 6. And Greg called out to our phone tree to let everybody know. So 4 p.m., I decided I should have my last shower that I would likely have in a few days, during which my water broke. So this is, I thought, a good sign. So by 4:30, we were at the hospital and went to labor and delivery to sign in for the C-section and let them know that my water had broken. So Greg was sent down to admitting, and one of our friends was already waiting there. So I was, in the meantime, hooked up to IVs and had some blood taken, and I had a whole bunch of monitors for the baby on me. And then about 5 p.m.-ish, I met one of the doctors that would be involved in the ultrasound. And looking at the scans, they weren't quite sure of the results of those, so they ordered more scans. And in the meantime, several friends and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law showed up to show support, which was, thankfully, having people there to distract me was a wonderful thing. So about 6 p.m., I had another set of ultrasounds done, and the results still were unclear. So the ultrasound technician did another form of ultrasound. I'll say that it was internal, and leave that up to your imagination. Let's see. So then over the next couple of hours, the two doctors that would be involved with the C-section were looking at the results and still not sure what to do, so they gave me a physical exam, and they felt something odd. So the senior doctor continued with the physical exam, and he said, and I quote, "I've never felt anything like that before. And anybody who knows me, my reaction to stress is to diffuse it by giggling." This did not impress the doctor. His comment to that was, "That's not funny. I've been doing this for 20 years. And of course, I kind of screamed internally, "You don't want to hear that." So anyways, the doctors continued to consult with each other back and forth, trying to figure out Was it placenta previa or not? Should they induce or should they stick with the C-section? So they finally decided that it was not placenta previa. Sorry, that's the wrong term. Maybe it's not the wrong term. That is the right term. I'll try cutting that out. We'll see how that works. So they were concerned about the placenta previa, but it didn't look like that was blocking things from happening. So they were going to induce me. Let's see. So before they started hooking me up to everything again, I begged them to let me go to the bathroom, in a bathroom, one last time. And while I was there, something popped out. And I was very confused. I could not figure out what could pop out. So I yelled through the door for somebody to call a nurse. And the nurse came in, had one look, pulled the alarm bell, and screamed for everyone to get out of the room. That was a little stressful. It was. So the flurry begins. So I was rushed back to the bed on my side to protect the umbilical cord, which is what had popped out. They kept it between my legs. And then I switched onto a gurney. And this is an important little point that I had a catheter inserted with a saline bag to reinflate my bladder to reduce the pressure on the umbilical cord. And then I was rushed into the OR. And then the anesthesiologist rushed in. He did something. I couldn't quite tell what he was doing because I didn't have my glasses on. And he started playing with my jaw. I wasn't quite sure what he was doing, so I just relaxed my jaw, figuring that's what he wanted. And then he tried to intubate me. So I looked up at him and said, "Hello, I'm still here." And he had a completely astonished expression. I scared the bejesus out of him, which scared me in turn. So apparently he had accidentally put the anesthesia into the saline bag that I previously mentioned instead of into the IV. So he had to go get more anesthesia, inject it, and then it was bye-bye, folks. So in recovery, I woke up shivering uncontrollably, which was quite painful because it was causing my stomach muscles to spasm. And so they covered me with warm blankets, and eventually I warmed up and stopped shivering, but it seemed like a long time, though I'm sure it probably wasn't. And I think I was still in and out of it a fair bit because I vaguely remember Greg being by my bedside and talking to me, and all I can remember him saying is, we have a boy. And at the time, in my mind, I kept thinking, what is he talking about? We have a boy. What is he? Oh, right. We had a baby boy. We had a baby. I had forgotten. Anyways, that's pretty much all that happened that night. So I woke up the next day, which was the 4th. And the stay in the hospital was not pleasant. I woke up slightly confused, realized I'm in a hospital. So I figured out how to work the hospital bed and I sat myself up. And then I crossed my hands over my stomach and realized something was missing. So there was nobody else in the room. I found the call button for the nurse, pushing it, thinking, somebody got to tell me something here. So eventually a nurse came in and I asked her, where's my baby? Of course, I didn't remember the conversation before about it being a boy. So the nurse replied, "Oh, I don't know. It's not a thing you want to hear." So I asked her, "Could you please go find out?" So she, "Oh, sure." And then she went off. Came back a little while later. "Oh, your baby is in the neonatal intensive care unit." "Why? Can you tell me why? What is wrong?" "Oh, I'll go see if I can find out." So, sitting in the bed, now I'm sure my blood pressure was through the roof, trying to figure out, okay, what's wrong with the baby I just had? So they did eventually come back and said, the nurses don't know. They don't know why the baby's in there. The baby seems fine. So over the next 4 days, of course, just after having a C-section, I'm walking up and down the entire length of the hospital because, of course, my room is at one far end and the NICU is at the other far end to go visit my baby. And it was 2 days before I was allowed to hold him. So at that point, the baby hadn't learned how to feed. They had used a nose tube for feeding. And I think I got to hold him one more time before we were discharged. So on the 4th day, I was talking to the nurses saying, I'm going to self-discharge because you cannot tell me what is wrong with my child. My child seems happy, healthy. There's nothing wrong with him. The doctor was on vacation that weekend, so we couldn't get a hold of the doctor. And I was fed up of being in there, being disturbed every 3 hours by a nurse checking in on me and not being able to have my child. So they came back at one point and said, okay, here's your child. You're allowed to go home. So I said, well, could you show me how to change a diaper? I haven't done it in probably 20 years. She said, oh, you weren't shown how to do that? No, I wasn't. Okay, I'll go get the stuff and I'll go show you. Thank goodness I mentioned something. So they did a really quick, this is how you change a baby's diaper. This is how you take care of the umbilical cord. This is how you bathe the baby, because I had never done that before. And then we were allowed to go home. So yeah, that was the rather complicated birth story. A little information I found out afterwards, that with prolapsed cord, which is the term for the umbilical cord popping out, there is no statistic for the survival rate of the mother. So since then, I've been living on borrowed time, and there's a very high chance that the baby will have a learning deficiency from oxygen deprivation, which we're very thankful that did not occur either. So we're exceedingly lucky that way. And also, it turns out there was placenta previa in an unconventional way. I had a bilocated placenta, which means the placenta was attached in 2 places, and it was attached by a number of veins and arteries, and that had been the placenta previa part that the doctor had felt that he'd never felt like anything like that before. So if we had tried a natural birth, we both would have not survived because of that. So it was very complicated, and that seemed to be the turning point, really, for things not going well for me medically. Though thankfully nothing has ever turned out to be as fatal as it ought to have been. Which seems to be the run of my luck so far, thank goodness. So that's it for this time, I think. Next time I will go into my next medical hurdle, which was Graves' disease. And I need to do a little homework on that. I haven't looked up the definition for that in a while. So I'll look up the definition, find a good link to provide in the comments so that if you are that interested, you can look it up for yourself. So that's it for today. I hope this has been informational and not terribly boring. And I hope you have a good one. Bye.